Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a huge question in business. You have a killer strategy, so what now? How do you actually make it happen? The answer is all about organizing. It's how you build the machine that makes the plan work. Let's get into it.
So picture this. You've spent weeks, maybe even months, coming up with the perfect plan. It's smart, it's bold, it's going to be a game changer. But a plan is just a piece of paper, right? Until you answer the really tough questions. Who's actually going to do the work? Who's in charge of what? Who answers to whom? This is the exact puzzle that organizing is meant to solve.
Over the next few minutes, we're basically going to build a company from the ground up. We'll hit 5 key building blocks: how to turn that plan into a real structure, how to set up a chain of command, how to group all the work into departments. We'll look at the big debate between tall and flat organizations, and finally, we'll figure out how to find the perfect fit for any business out there.
All right, first up, Section 1, from plan to structure. This is where it all begins. It's about taking that abstract idea and giving it a skeleton, a real blueprint for action.
So what is organizing really? At its heart, it's all about creating a system. A manager's job here is to line up all the different activities that need to happen and then build the formal web of working relationships. The whole point is to make sure everyone can pull in the same direction efficiently to hit the company's big goals.
And this right here is probably the most important rule you'll hear today. Structure follows strategy. You don't just dream up job titles and departments out of thin air. No way. First, you figure out what you want to do. That's the plan. Then, you design the organization, the structure, specifically to make that plan happen. The strategy always comes first.
Okay, so we've got our blueprint designed around our strategy. Now we need to add the power lines. And that brings us to our second section, the chain of command. This is all about figuring out who's in charge here.
The glue holding any organization together is something called authority. When you look at an org chart, it's the lines connecting all the boxes. Now, this isn't about being bossy. It's the official, legit right a manager has just because of their job title. It's what gives them the power to make calls, take action, and guide the work of their team.
But here's the thing. Not all authority is created equal. You've got 2 main flavors. First, there's line authority. Think about a plant manager or the head of sales. These folks are in charge of the company's core mission. They're the ones who give orders down the line. But as companies get bigger, those line managers need help. So they bring in people with staff authority, your HR director, your head of legal. Their job isn't to make the product, but to support and advise the people who do. So the HR manager can't tell a production worker what to do, but they can definitely advise the plant manager on hiring.
Okay, we've drawn the lines of authority. But a company is more than just managers and subordinates. We've got to group everyone together in a way that makes sense. That brings us to Section 3, grouping the work, or how you actually create departments.
Now, the fancy business school word for this is departmentalization, but don't let that intimidate you. It's just the way managers slice and dice all the work that needs to get done. They look at everything and figure out the most logical way to put things into buckets. And usually, it starts with 2 big choices.
On one side, you have functional departmentalization. This is the classic way. You group people by their skills. You put all the accountants in finance, all the marketers in marketing. You get the idea. It's super logical, which is why a lot of smaller companies love it. But on the other side, you've got divisional departmentalization. Here, you're grouping jobs around a specific purpose, like a product line, a type of customer, or even a country. This is the go-to for bigger, more complex companies.
So you might be wondering, which one's better? Well, there's always a trade-off. A functional structure is super efficient. You're not duplicating jobs, but it can be really slow to react to what customers want. A divisional structure, on the other hand, is amazing for customer focus, since each division acts like its own little company. The big downside? It can be way more expensive, because now you might have 3 marketing departments instead of just 1.
So what if you don't want to choose? What if you want that functional efficiency and that divisional focus? Well, that leads to a very interesting situation, which can be summed up by this one simple phrase: the 2-boss employee.
And that brings us to the matrix structure. It's a hybrid, a blend of the other 2. So an engineer might belong to the engineering department. That's boss number 1. But she also gets assigned to the new Project X. So she also reports to the Project X manager. That's boss number 2. Yep, 1 person, 2 bosses. This is super popular in places like tech companies or aerospace, anywhere you need to be really flexible and pull together teams for special projects.
The upside is pretty obvious. You're incredibly flexible, and you can put your best people on your most important projects. But, and this is a big but, it can get confusing. Who do you listen to when your two bosses want different things? It can definitely lead to some power struggles and conflict. It's a really powerful tool, but man, it's complex.
Okay, so we've grouped our people into departments, but that leads to another huge question. How many layers of management do we actually need? This single decision literally changes the shape of a company, which brings us to Section 4, tall versus flat organizations.
It all comes down to a concept called span of control. It sounds simple, and it is. It's just the number of people who report directly to one manager. But this one little number has massive consequences for how a company feels and how it operates.
Let's make this real. Imagine we have a company with 64 workers who all need a supervisor. Let's play this out and see how choosing a different span of control creates two totally different companies.
First, let's go with a narrow span of control. Let's say each supervisor can only handle 4 people. Okay, so for 64 workers, we need 16 supervisors. To manage them, we need 4 managers. And to manage them, we need 1 top manager. And boom, just like that, we've created a tall structure with 3 whole layers of management.
But now let's see what happens if we use a wide span of control. Let's say each supervisor can handle 8 people. For our 64 workers, we now only need 8 supervisors. And those 8 supervisors can all report to just 1 top manager. All of a sudden, we have a flat organization with only 1 layer of management. Same 64 workers, totally different world.
So what does that mean in the real world? Well, a tall structure gives you a ton of control and close supervision. But it's expensive, look at all those managers, and decisions move like molasses. A flat structure is the complete opposite. It's cheaper, decisions get made way faster, but managers have to be willing to delegate and trust their people more. It's no surprise that most modern companies are trying to get flatter.
And this all leads us to our final and most critical point. After all this talk about functional, divisional, matrix, tall, and flat, you have to be asking, so which one is the best? And the answer? Well, that's where things get interesting.
The truth is, there is no single best structure. The key is to find the perfect fit by balancing your costs, how much control you need, and what you're trying to achieve. Think about it. The military needs error-free command, so a tall structure makes perfect sense. But a retail store needs its employees to solve customer problems fast, so a flat structure that empowers them is a much better choice.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a couple of things to think about. As the world keeps changing, what will the company of the future look like? Will things get even flatter? And maybe more importantly for you, as you think about your own career, what kind of structure will you do your best work in? Thanks for watching The Explainer.